This is but a humble preview. Donald Trump, in my opinion, will be convicted in New York City. I do not see a jury acquitting Donald Trump in his Stormy Daniels case. The story that we have for you now: jury rules Trump committed battery and defamed E. Jean Carroll, former president, calls verdict a disgrace. This woman claims that nearly 30 years ago, Donald Trump raped her at the Bergdorf. Trump says he doesn't even know who she is, and he met her one time in some celebrity photo line. And you know what? I actually believe Donald Trump. Now, to be fair, I don't know what evidence was heard by the jury. There is some evidence that they have published and talked about, but it just seems highly unlikely that after 30 years, there could be any kind of sufficient evidence to warrant Donald Trump having to pay $5 million in this. Sorry, we have a statute of limitations for a reason when it comes to criminal activity. Now, murder has no statute of limitations, but many other crimes do. And the reason for it is kind of obvious. At a certain point, it's just, how do you even go back? How do you even deal with these issues? And to be fair, statute of limitations has to do with upon knowledge of the crime, not after the crime was committed. So a lot of people seem to think that if someone throws a brick at somebody and then 10 years goes by, nobody knows who did it, and they find out it was you, it's like, well, the statute of limitations is over, we can't prosecute you. No, it's actually upon discovery of the crime, meaning the state has to come after you, and if they don't, they can't do it later. Now, that has nothing to do with a civil case. The civil case, in my opinion, proves that it's complete nonsense. I just don't see how we litigate something 30 years old with no evidence, but sure. Trump is speaking out saying he wasn't allowed to present certain evidence. They weren't allowed to show certain exculpatory information and evidence. And thus, it was a Clinton-appointed judge who hates Donald Trump. Now, look, I don't really care about this rape trial in which Trump has been found liable. I don't find it to be credible at all. After what happened with Brett Kavanaugh, these people have basically stricken all possible credibility in this regard. And I'm sorry, it's just a 30-year-old allegation, but this is a window into the future. I think Donald Trump is going to be convicted in the Stormy Daniels case. But let me read for you the story and show you where we're at. The big news now pertaining to Donald Trump and his case, the criminal trial. New gag order muzzling Trump in his hush money case. And do you know what they're going to do? Do you know why this matters? It's going to be the campaign trail. Joe Biden, or whoever it's going to be, is going to come out and say, Donald Trump did this thing. And Donald Trump will be barred by a judge from saying no. You see how that works? You see how evil these people are? They are playing the long game. They're playing chess. I hope Donald Trump isn't just playing checkers. But here's a story from Timcast.com. A jury has ruled that former President Donald Trump committed battery on E. Jean Carroll in 1996 and later defamed her. Quote, I'm here because Donald Trump raped me, and when I wrote about it, he said it didn't happen. Carroll testified during the nearly 2-week-long civil trial in federal court. He lied and shattered my reputation, and I'm here to get my life back. So I got a question for you. If Donald Trump simply said a thing didn't happen, how is that defamation? And if the jury says he's not liable for it, what is their evidence that such a thing occurred? And then how is it defamation if it did not occur? You see, if Trump did rape this woman, well, he should be found liable for it. They should have evidence to prove it, right? Well, the jury rejected that. Then how is it defamation when he says it didn't happen if the jury even agrees whatever it is he wasn't responsible for? Trump did not testify or call any witnesses in the case. The jury ruled that Trump did not rape Carroll. Okay, so then how did he defame her? But that he is liable for sexual abuse. He has now been ordered to pay her $5 million in damages in the civil case. There are no criminal charges. Carroll first went public with the allegations in 2019 while promoting her book. Trump has maintained that he is innocent and that she is not his type. He's also accused her of fabricating the story to sell copies of her book, which I believe is the absolute most likely scenario. I would stake large sums of money on a wager that that is the case. Look at what happened with Christine Blasey Ford. Are we really supposed to believe these ridiculous stories with no evidence? Apparently. That's the game the media plays, isn't it? In November, Carroll filed her complaint using a New York law that allows sexual assault victims a 1-year window to file lawsuits even if the statute of limitations has expired. She filed it the same day that the law went into effect. So 30 years later, outside of the statute of limitations, it's just ridiculous. Carroll also claimed that he defamed her by calling her a complete con job in an October 2022 interview. How? It's an opinion. This is absolutely insane. I can have the BBC put my photo up implying that I was the Texas gun, saying this is what people are taking from it. The BBC puts an article referencing the Texas gunman, puts a picture of me on it. I can have all of these massive multinational corporations outright fabricate things about me. And what can you do? The judges throw them out. But in this case, you see, this is my point. The facts don't matter at all. All that matters is Trump is in a jurisdiction that hates him. He is in a Democrat jurisdiction of psychotic, deranged, evil cultists. This is more proof. It's more proof. I'm not saying Trump's a saint. I'm just saying, how can you possibly prove any liability in this regard 30 years later with no evidence? After the verdict was announced, Trump called it a disgrace and claimed he didn't know her in a post on Truth Social after the verdict was announced. I have absolutely no idea who this woman is. The verdict is a disgrace, a continuation of the greatest witch hunt of all time. So we have this is from Justin Webb, Daily Mail. Of course, Donald Trump will try to tough it out, but being found to have sexually abused E. Jean Carroll is a huge headache for Republicans. I'm over it. Really, I got to be honest. The system is chaos, algorithmic, psychopathic garbage. I don't see a recovery from this. I don't see how we move forward. I really don't. Every day, the news is more and more deranged and psychotic. And I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. There's no credibility in this, right? E. Jean Carroll appearing on TV, basking in the greatest day of her life. Trump says the trial was a scam. Let me show you Trump's response. Donald Trump truthed. This Clinton-appointed judge, Lewis Kaplan, hated President Donald J. Trump more than is humanly possible. He is a terrible person, completely biased, and should have recused himself when asked to do so. He quickly refused. This case should never have been allowed to be tried in this completely partisan venue, perhaps the worst for me in the nation. The whole rigged hoax is yet another travesty of justice, a continuation of the greatest political witch hunt of all time. The partisan judge and jury on the just concluded witch hunt trial should be absolutely ashamed of themselves for allowing such a travesty of justice to take place. The dress, which played such a big role early on as a threatening bluff, but which ended up being totally exculpatory, was not allowed to the trial as evidence, nor was her cat's name Vagina, the racist name she called her black husband, Ape, getting caught in a lie on the political operative paying for this hoax and much more. After listening to the Anderson Cooper tape of the Carroll interview where she said that, I'm not going to repeat that quote, she made positive comments about rape and other totally incriminating things, it is not possible to believe that this woman, who I do not know and have never met before except on a crowded celebrity photo line, could be credible or convincing to a judge and jury. Why did Cooper suddenly call for a commercial break? And why was Carroll a totally different person after the break? What took place during the break for such a drastic change? Here's the photo. The image released by Kaplan, Hecker, and Fink and presented as evidence during the former President Donald Trump's deposition shows E. Jean Carroll, second from the left, and her then husband, John Johnson, meeting Trump at left and his wife Ivanka at an event in the 1980s. But didn't she make the claim that the assault happened in 1996? That was the date, wasn't it? Am I wrong about that one? I thought that was the official date, right? Let me make sure we just have this one. I thought she said it was 1996. You lied. $5 million in damages. What does this 80s have to do with it? All right, well, they say 26. NYC department store in 1996. She claimed he raped her in the dressing room of the New York City department store in 1996. How is a photo of Trump in the 80s evidence of anything? Here we are, because it doesn't matter. And you know it doesn't matter. And you know where we're at. The next thing that's going to happen is Donald Trump is going to be convicted in his criminal case. This is a trial balloon. Welcome to modern politics. Insider reports a New York judge has banned Donald Trump from posting any evidence on social media in his ongoing hush money case after prosecutors accused the former president of having a history of targeting witnesses. State Supreme Court Justice Juan Merchan fulfilled prosecutors' request this week in issuing a social media gag order on the former president, who is facing criminal charges stemming from allegations he oversaw hush money payments, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we get it. On April 4th, Trump was arraigned on 34 counts of falsifying business records. Prosecutors allege he covered up a $130,000 non-disclosure payment just 2 weeks before the 2016 election in order to silence porn star Stormy Daniels over an alleged affair between the two. Trump has denied the affair and any wrongdoing. Merchan's Monday order comes as Trump's legal team attempts to move the state criminal case to federal court. The order also stops Trump from publicly discussing details about witnesses involved in the case or any other evidence prosecutors plan to use against him. A rep for Trump did not immediately respond to insiders' request for comment. The judge said Trump would be allowed to view limited evidentiary material while in the presence of his lawyers. But the court order explicitly forbade Trump or anyone else involved in the case from copying, transcribing, or photographing the material. Following his March indictment, Trump took to Truth Social, where he railed against Merchan, saying the judge hates me and accusing the judge's wife of being anti-Trump. It's obvious. You know, I mentioned I was hanging out in Florida this past weekend, and there were people who were like, nah, Trump won't be convicted. That's too much. You know what, man? People who don't pay attention to what's going on probably think that. But I don't know how you can conclude that after seeing everything we've seen so far. They impeached the guy twice over fake garbage. I had a guy tell me that Fox News is extremist and there's nothing on the other side is extreme. And I'm like, MSNBC? He's like, no. MSNBC hosted people claiming Donald Trump was a Soviet agent as president. They're psychotic. What do? What does anger get you? What does frustration get you? It's pointless. The system is shattered. It's broken. There is no rectifying this. It is an algorithmic decaying catastrophe. We've fallen off the cliff. That's it. You know, look, I'm not saying this is like the end of days or anything like that. I'm saying where we go from here ain't no going back. We are in free fall. The border is completely exposed. The Biden admin says they're going to be releasing tens of thousands more migrants onto the streets of random cities. There's no border anymore. There's no border to this country. It is just open season. The economy is in shambles. Inflation is through the roof. The legal system is fake. That's it. It's collapsed. The best you can do is get out of these cities, homeschool your kids, try and make some money. I'm not even convinced that making U.S. dollars is a viable option for the future. I have people asking me, like, what are you doing with your money? Like, what do I do with mine? And I'm like, bro, don't look at me. I don't know. You know, you can say Bitcoin, but what happens when they kick your door in with guns and say Bitcoin's illegal? And I know the Bitcoin people are like, they can't make Bitcoin illegal, et cetera, et cetera. Yo, they can do a lot of things. They can make it hard, to put it simply. To look at these stories, I just find it absolutely fascinating that that we're witnessing this degree of psychotic behavior, and they don't care. This is how it goes. You think that there is rational debate in this country. Maybe there used to be. You think that we are above tribal warfare. We are not. The system is completely broken, and what's happening to Donald Trump is absolute proof of it. These stories are ridiculous. We've not seen anything like this before. Now we have this in Trump case. Bragg pursues a common charge with a rarely used strategy. A review of more than 24 cases shows that at least one sense, the indictment of the former president stands apart. You think? Where are we at with this case? A lawyer accused of stealing $1.2 million from his law firm, covering it up. An insurance broker accused of taking $350,000 from a client. And a former president accused of orchestrating a $130,000 hush money payment to a porn star. All three men were prosecuted by Alvin Bragg, and each faced the same felony charge, falsifying business records. The only problem, they don't have the jurisdiction. They don't have the authority to go after Trump in this way. They're claiming that they're entitled to do this because, well, I'll put it simply, there was an underlying crime. What was that crime? They've not said. Doesn't exist. They're just making it up as they go along. I got to be honest. I think most people have checked out. I really do. I was talking to some people recently who said that they used to follow the news all the time. And to be honest, they stopped. I was talking to one guy who said that he got rid of all of his social media and just doesn't care anymore. And my attitude with that is that's what they want. That's what the establishment machine hopes for. They're hoping that all of you just say, I don't care anymore. And you know what? I don't blame you, because it is really hard to care. Watching the whole building burn down, at a certain point, you're just kind of like, well, what am I going to do? Sit here and stare at a burned down building? At a certain point, you've got to move on and figure things out for yourself. That's how I kind of feel right now. The best thing that you can do watching all of this stuff, as frustrating as it may be, is to get out of cities, make money, homeschool your kids, try and be self-sufficient, because it's going to get worse. It's going to get bad. I don't believe the system exists anymore. You look at the far left extremists burning down police stations. What does the media say? Mostly peaceful. You look at the far left setting fire to St. John's Church, injuring nearly 100 plus federal agents, tearing down the barricades in front of the White House, trying to storm the building, setting fire to a guard post. Not a peep. Because the system is gone. There isn't anything unifying people in this country. You've got a psychotic death cult on the left that will say utter nonsense if it means they fit in. There's no functioning system there. We had Lance from the Surfs on, and he said, women should be allowed to get an abortion whenever they want. Even if it kills the baby, even at 9 months, that's fine. I said, what about meth? No, you can't do meth because that intentionally kills the baby. You see, there's no cohesive structure in the minds of these individuals. There is simply follow whatever the algorithmic cult tells you to do. If the talking point is a positive, say it, regardless of whether or not it makes sense. That means you and I following a logical path and trying to actually solve these problems is meaningless. The best thing we can do is band together, work on ourselves, get out of cities, homeschool our kids, have more kids, grow your own food, start your own business, and just try and starve out the cult. Wait for the cities to completely collapse. And then when they come begging for food, you look down and you say no. That's the one way we solve this problem. But I think the issue is that too many people on the right who are paying attention, who are Trump supporters, won't do a thing. And so the system just crumbles. It is not simply that the left is psychotic. It's that the right doesn't care to take any action. So I'll give you an example, right? There are things that could be done to stop everything that's happening. For one, suppliers to major urban centers of food could be like, we don't sell to you because, or truckers could stop delivering and say that it's not safe to go to this city. We don't want to do business with bad people. We don't want to sell products to people who hate us. Because the reality is most people in rural areas, they're more conservative leaning, but they don't care. Because Republicans are very much the same. Money talks. And if the left comes out and literally tries to burn the country down over the course of several months, 100 plus days, setting fire to buildings, ransacking small towns, these conservative businesses are going to be like, don't care. I want money. Because they're just as bad. In reality, if many of these rural businesses, food producers, just stopped and said, not interested. If the people who work for the big multinational corporations that process the food just stopped, the cities would be starved out in 2 seconds. The power lies in those who are producing the basic needs for the basic needs of these cities. Instead, what we have is these cities have become psychotic. I don't know what the right word is. They have become psychotic wastelands that just burn down, ransack, crime, all of that stuff. And people in rural areas are just funneling resources back into them as they go insane. And then you've got dirty cops, dirty judges, and they indict Trump. And you know what? Part of this is Trump's fault, mind you. Trump should have just said no to New York. He should have said no to both of these cases. He should have said, I will not entertain a fake rape trial. Have a nice day, and completely ignored it because the end result is the same. Now he's just wasted money and still been found liable. He would have always. The judge was never going to side with Trump. He should have never gone to New York to answer any kind of indictment. They're not going to give him anything. It's a foregone conclusion. We know where this goes. And that's the frustrating thing to me. You got Trump supporters, you've got conservatives, you've got all of these people, especially the DeSantis supporters, just being like, well, no, now hold on there. Slow down there, Democrats. We're just going to keep doing the same thing. They are placing their hand on an electric stove, and you can feel and hear and see and smell the searing flesh. And even Donald Trump is just like, well, this is fine. Donald Trump is the guy sticking his hand on the stove and going, would you look at this? Can you believe it? My hand is being burned on this stove in this country. Are you kidding me, dude? After everything, you still bother showing up? No, the system doesn't exist. You don't exist within their system. I'm just frustrated by this, to be honest. I just can't even do it. You know, I wake up, I read this news, and then I'm just like, why should I care? Why should you care? Why does this news matter to anyone? Seriously. Because Donald Trump knows what's coming next, but he just keeps his hand firmly pressed on the electric stove. For what reason? Walk away from it. Yeah, you know what? The stove might burn the house down. But what was the point? Why keep your hand firmly attached to it? You could walk away, and then maybe the house burns down. Speaking figuratively, obviously. The point is, if it was going to burn you either way, why bother giving them the satisfaction? And Trump keeps playing the game, and he'll keep playing the game every step of the way. And they'll keep doing the same things. No matter what he does, they will lie, they will cheat, they will steal. And the cult will simply just scream at the top of their lungs and give in to all of it. The next thing that's going to happen is Donald Trump is going to be criminally convicted in New York. I'd be willing to bet a lot of money on it. Acquittal doesn't seem to make any sense. They are not backing down. They tried impeaching Trump, but they couldn't get him because they needed a lot of senators to convict in the impeachment. But in New York, you think a New York jury is going to acquit Donald Trump? You are sorely mistaken. So I don't know. Maybe Trump won't be able to actually run. Maybe he'll be in prison. We'll see what happens. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.